with that. Okay, next. Next. It's Alexenko versus Fabi. And there's a very funny position in the opening. And I'll tell you why it's funny. And then here, yeah. So after the fact, because I was busy. I wasn't watching, the analysis. I'd look at the games, but not like the long analysis. I saw afterwards, Magnus said, "Why isn't this pawn hanging? Like, take a pawn. It's a free pawn." But what? And it turns out taking the pawn's probably wrong. And both players figured that out or knew it beforehand. I don't know if this is theory or... but if you take it, you could take with the knight or the pawn. And now if you take with the knight, which seems more natural, I can take and play knight b3. And the engine just likes white here. I mean, you can't go here because of a5. If you go here, your bishop's going to get attacked. So the engine plays this. And e5 and knight takes c5 give white an advantage. Now, another line is to take with the bishop. And then the engine still likes white because you just play b4. White sacrifices a pawn. White gets the two bishops. The bishop can go to b2. And the engine says it's about equal, but practically, I think you'd want to have white. The extra pawn doesn't matter very much, but the two bishops could hurt you. So he could have taken the pawn, but he didn't. So it's not a free pawn. It's complicated. Okay, so he played a5, stopping white from playing a5. Always retreat. Now in this position, this is more interesting because if white wants to, doesn't have to, but probably should, knight c4. If the bishop moves, I can just safely take back because now my queen's on the pawn. So this would be really interesting if this happened. Again, white has the two bishops. Black's pawn structure is messed up. But, black's going to be 2 pawns up. So the engine says it's about equal. A very funny line is here, 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 leaving this knight here forever. But then after just moving the queen, you can't take the bishop because knight takes the rook, so you have to do this. And again, the engine says this is about equal. Black's 2 pawns up, but pawn structure is frankly ridiculous. And I have 2 bishops. So I don't know. I don't know what color I'd want here. In blitz chess, I want white. Slow chess, maybe black. Okay, but Fabi didn't, something. Oh, yeah, he did do that. I'm sorry. This actually happened. What? I didn't know that happened. That's actually very funny. This is the actual game. I didn't know this was the game. I haven't memorized the games. Oh, so this actually happened. He didn't play knight b4, though. Okay, and then bishop d2. So Alexenko sacrifices a pawn, and he has 2 bishops, and black's pawn structure is wrecked. But, he's up a pawn. Tries to get rid of the 2 bishops, and he is successful. Thanks, you mate me, for the subscription. And again, this is about equal. Queen e8 is fine, defending. He doesn't mind losing this pawn because it's so weak. Knight d7. Now, knight d7 is a very interesting move. He's attacking the queen, obviously. But he wants to always sacrifice the exchange because white's king is doing very badly. Knight here, queen here, queen here. And white's king is permanently bad. So it's very dangerous to allow this move. And so he played queen e3, the engine recommendation. e5, good. Queen d3, which is a little iffy, attacking the pawn. Now knight c5 is coming with tempo. And it did. Queen g3. And, black should be better here because black's knights are great. These pawns are weak. I have the open f file. And this pawn, there's a white bishop on d2, so that's not going to get attacked like 50 times. So the engine slightly prefers black here. d1, not Engine doesn't like that. G5, rawr, mad. And the tactical reason for this move is if you play the obvious knight F5, the knight takes E4, attacking the queen, and the knight is going to be lost. So black just wins a pawn. So he has to go back to F3. Rook F7. Now, I saw analysis of this game analyzing bishop G5 with the idea of takes and takes. Frankly, ridiculous. Just rook G8, and, all pieces are attacked. Yeah, it's terrible. Frankly, ridiculous. So that doesn't work. Bishop C1, always retreat. And Fabi doubled up on the bubble up, but he could have just snatched a pawn. That's the engine move, snatch a pawn. I mean, it's a pawn. But he doubled up. He figured out when the pawn later can't be protected. He traded queens. The d pawn is attacked, so he played rook here. And this looks indefensible. But bishop e3 is a really nice move. Which is funny because not only does it let him take the pawn, but it also hangs another pawn. Thanks, Captivate. You're the best. Yeah. So, well, the idea is if you ever take this pawn, your knight doesn't have a lot of retreat squares. I could defend my b pawn, and then what's your knight doing on a4? And you could take the e pawn, and he took the a pawn. Taking the e pawn should give black a little advantage. And this is the engine line, which is sort of crazy. If you play knight c5, I can take it, and e5 is hanging. So you play rook f4. And this was being analyzed by Wrench and Hess, if you can call what Danny does analysis. Bishop e3, obviously, if Caruana wants to win, he can't. I mean, he could win this way. That's a draw. So if he wants to win, he has to go here. And they actually analyzed this. Knight h2, rook h4. And Danny thought the rook was in trouble and such. But turns out this should draw the game. Knight here. And this should be a repetition. And if black avoids the repetition, he's not doing well. Yeah.
It's so hot.
What? Is it hot in here?
You look hot.
I am hot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they told me I couldn't take all my clothes off. I don't know. We got a 50 sub donation. Yeah, so that was good. The more you donate, the more money we have. Yeah. And it was your favorite marmalade. Gray. How'd you do?
I won.
I assume you won because you're not, furious and destroying the chess center. And Spencer's position wasn't good when I
How's
looked.
everybody doing?
Wasn't good. I looked like an hour ago.
Yeah, my game was
Yeah.
probably not the best.
Can you get me a Perrier? Because look at this. Terrible.
I can get one.
Yeah.
Put back out.
Okay. All right. So I have to go quickly because, they're putting the videos together. All right. So
Oh, yeah.
Fabi didn't do that. He played knight takes a4. Rook d5, and white has obvious compensation for a pawn. I mean, all these pawns are weak. And if the d pawn falls, then the e pawn falls, and it's like a house of cards. Checkmate. Right? Will the dominoes fall like a house of cards? Ah! No! What's that? A whole new computer will fix this right up. Man, this is tough editing for editor because I never look at the game. Okay. So knight takes b2, always take everything. And the knight's sort of trapped. The pawns are sort of weak. The engine likes black, but how's black supposed to win? There's nothing happening here. He defended his b pawn, saved his knight, keeps saving his knight. A lot of you were thinking, why doesn't he play knight here forking the rooks? And you missed the bishop could take. Now, you were thinking that. Yeah, that's why you're not playing in the candidates. Okay, and Fabi wants to win. So he plays knight c5. Always repeat. Yeah, don't call you out like that. The truth hurts. Yeah. Well, the pass pawns matter when they're here, but they're not. Yeah. And white's going to take them. So, yeah. This pawn's weak, this pawn's weak, this pawn's weak. Yeah, now it's 4 against 4. This is a drawn position. And I think it was shown that even Fabi didn't have any advantage. He played here, and was that the time control? Yeah, now they got the time control, so white could think. So I didn't understand this position. I thought black was much better, and if white plays precisely, he can draw. It turns out black is not better. Basically, you can do anything and draw. Now, because of what I thought, which was wrong, I was watching the game at this point. I thought black's going to go here, and black's going to go here. And I said, well, if I'm white, I'm going to play g3, f4. Then the king can't come in. And if I'm black and I go a4, that gives him time to play g3. So if I play king f6, then he can't play g3, f4 because I'm first. But this idea, which I thought was really good, it's not. It's just a draw. And I think the players knew that. I think both players knew this was a draw. So a4 actually is the engine move. And now I thought he would play g3 and then move his rook back and play f4 and draw. That does draw, but never play f3. And I just thought this was winning for black, but it's not. Like, this is the best black could do. He trapped white's rook. He got his king to e5. White can't move his pawns forward. And it's just a dead draw. You just can't win. And the reason you can't win is funny. If the king goes over here, and this king goes here, and we trade on a2, this e-pawn's queening. So when I play rook takes a2, you can't trade rooks. Well, then you're down a pawn, and I have a passed pawn, so it's just a draw. So this doesn't work. And he plays king e3, stopping king d4. If it's black's move, it's a pretty good plan. But white's quick enough. And white's just going to go here and then take the pawn. And black can't stop that. So he did, and black played his counterplay. Every move draws. King b3 draws, e5 draws, every move draws. King d5 draws. Yeah. And again, every move draws. There's just no way to win. Yeah, because of that. And this pawn's going to cost a rook, and then the rook and 2 pawns is a draw. And then king f6 corrals this pawn. Yeah. For some reason, they agreed to a draw here. Usually they like to go king versus king. That's, it's like, I don't know why. It's, king versus king. So Alexenko was a little bit better for some of the game, and Fabiano was flirting with being much better, but in a lot of positions where the commentators thought Fabi was much better, he wasn't. It just looked nice, but yeah, he wasn't going to win that game. But okay, win with white, draw with black. If he does it every round, he'll win the tournament. It's hard to win games this tournament. Truth hurts. If I bring my king to the other side of the board, can I queen it? You can't queen your king, but thanks for asking. If black got his king over here, he would be winning, but white was quicker. So he couldn't do that. He had to go that way. Magnus is playing, but he's in last place. He's having a really bad tournament. Whew, terrible. John Bartholomew is rating with a party of 450. Go, John Bartholomew, but stay here. John Bartholomew, the meanest guy in chat. Oh, wait, I mean the nicest guy in chess. If you want to give John Bartholomew a present, I'm not saying you do, but if you do, send him a Starbucks gift card. It'll be used. John Bartholomew goes to Starbucks almost as much as me and Karen. Probably more. I knew John Bartholomew before you were all born. Even if you're older than John and me, I still knew him. Yeah. John wants that coffee. All right. Yeah, I mean, going to king versus king makes sense. I don't know.